Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 29th of December and we are going to deal with three very important topics which are in news. The first topic is the Qatar Court commutes the death penalty for 8 ex-Indian Navy personnel. These 8 ex-Indian Navy personnel were arrested by the Qatari authorities in August 2022. In October 2023, they were sentenced for death. Well, what was their crime? Their crime was undeclared by the Qatari authorities. But there are some reports which point towards the fact that they were, sentenced for life due to their spying on Qatar for Israel. However, their punishment now has been commuted, but it is not over. So the family members are going to appeal in a higher court. So this is basically the first piece of news which we are going to study. Second is the Red Sea Task Force. This Red Sea Task Force is basically a naval force formed by USA or initiated by USA. Multiple countries, some European, some African and some Asian have joined this task force to deal with the Houthis in the Red Sea. This is a voluntary task force and countries with whatever capabilities they are having want to contribute can contribute. But USA is seeing some countries are backing out from this, like Italy, Spain, Saudi, UAE, which clearly highlights USA's problems in the Red Sea. It is actually not USA's problems only, but it is affecting the entire world. Houthis are, blocking shippings coming from and going to the Suez Canal, which carry 12% of the world cargo traffic. So this is what we are going to study in this particular piece of news. And the third is PM Janman. This scheme was launched in November 2023 for the particularly vulnerable tribal group. The scheme was launched. Why? Because in this year's budget, the finance minister clearly stated that there will be some special emphasis for the particularly vulnerable tribal group. These are the group who are the most vulnerable among the already vulnerable tribal groups of India. From around 705 tribal communities in India, around 75 of them have been classified under PVTGs. Now, PM Janman actually aims to increase saturation of already existing schemes like PM Awas Yojana or Jal Jeevan Mission or Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, or I would say Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana. All these already existing schemes, saturation will be increased so that these most vulnerable sections of the society have access to benefits coming from these schemes. This is the last mile development. So we will look into the details. First is the Qatar Court commutes death penalty for 8 Navy personnel. See, the death penalty only has been commuted, they have not been set free. And for this purpose only, the family members of these 8 ex-Indian Navy personnel will be appealing to a higher court. So, the death penalty has been commuted, which was awarded to 8 ex-Indian naval officers in October 2023. We covered it on somewhere around 27th, 28th October this happened. What now? The family members have decided to appeal in the higher court, Court of Cassation it is known as, to free them of the allegations. Now, what if they are not free of allegations in the Court of Cassation, which is the highest court of appeal in Qatar? Then they have the last resort, that would be Emir of Qatar's pardon. But anyways, the step which has been taken by the lower court is in favor of these Indians. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs, the Embassy of India in Qatar have all been super supportive for this cause. In October itself, the Minister of External Affairs of India announced that we will do all possible or we will give all possible support to these 8 Indian ex-naval officers. During COP28 of UNFCCC, our Prime Minister met the Emir of Qatar as well, and this was one of the points which was under discussion. Now, if you see today's newspaper, you will see our Prime Minister's photo along with the Emir of Qatar. What are the charges against them? Actually, charges have not been officially declared by government of Qatar due to its sensitive nature. But yes, it is believed that they were involved in spying for Israel. That is the major charges, which is speculated, not 100% confirmed. Now, the death sentence, this was awarded to 8 former officers of the Indian Navy. They have been in jail since August 2022. The first hearing in their trial began in March 2023 this year. Their bail pleas were turned down multiple times and their detention was extended by Qatari authorities. India's response at that time in October, Ministry of External Affairs has called the verdict shocking and vowed to explore all legal options. And now, the Ministry of External Affairs has ticked all the boxes, given whatever support was under its ambit for these 8 personnel. Ministry of External Affairs has now issued a statement that we are looking for the future course and we are going to support them in the time to come as well. The ministry refused to comment on more on the case, citing as the confidential nature of the proceedings since the Qatari government wants to keep the matter confidential. Now, the timeline of their arrest, 30th August 2022, that is last year they were arrested. They were picked up by Qatar's intelligence agency, State Security Bureau. And then after that, the Indian embassy in Doha apparently learned about the arrest in mid-September, 1.5 months after this. The officers in custody were allowed to talk to their families. Now also they are allowed to talk to their families thrice in a week. They have got consular access also. Consular access is, when an official of the Indian embassy visits, them, is allowed to visit them. So after this death sentence was awarded, then also they were given consular access. They were allowed to talk to their family members thrice in a week. So all these things were being taken care by the Qatari authorities. Now, who are the ex-naval officers? These officers, the names are Captain Navtej Singh Gill, Captain Saurabh Vashisht, Captain Birendra Kumar Verma, Commander Purnendu Tiwari. Commander Purnendu Tiwari was also one of those persons who has won this Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award in 2019. This Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award is given to the Indian diaspora, members of the Indian diaspora who are not staying in India, staying abroad, but have major contributions in national development. It is given on the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, that is 9th and 10th of January every year. The former naval officers were employed by a Qatar company, Dahra Global Technologies and Consultancy Services, to provide training and services such as logistics, equipment, maintenance to the Qatari Emiri Navy. They had been working with the company for the last 4 to 6 years. The charges against them, as per a Mint report, Mint is basically a newspaper, and other newspapers all across the world, global newspapers, have also highlighted the fact that they were accused of spying for Israel on Qatar. However, Ministry of External Affairs said that the full nature of charges is not entirely clear. According to Indian Express, family sources said they were not informed of the formal charges against the ex-naval officers, either by Qatari authorities or the Indian officials. Till now, the charges have not been declared by Qatari authorities that on what charges are there on them due to its sensitive nature. Then the next piece of news, the Red Sea Task Force, United States of America has assembled a multinational naval force or coalition to help safeguard commercial traffic from attacks by Yemen's Houthi movement. Now, we covered it last week how the Houthis in Yemen, they are attacking the commercial cargo ships passing through the Bab el-Mandeb state, or I would say the Red Sea. Now, in a response, this force has been, formed. Each country will contribute what they can. Hence, a coalition of the willing, this is being termed as. The operation undertaken by this coalition has been named as Operation Prosperity Guardian. But there has been a roadblock in this operation. Many allies which became part of this, Red Sea task force are now backing out. Like Spain, Italy, Saudi Arabia, and UAE have distanced themselves from the alliance's operations. Now, USA, no doubt, has taken the suo motu responsibility of guarding international trade all across the world. Its naval presence is immense, and this is again a significant, I would say, contribution by USA to the world. But USA's position on the current crisis in Israel between Israel and Hamas is that they are outrightly supporting Israel. Israel has launched an offensive which obviously is not humanitarian in nature. Means many, I would say, innocent civilians have been targeted, and according to a recent report, around 21,000 or 22,000 civilians have been killed since the onset of this conflict in October starting by the Israeli forces. So USA is being criticized. Now the first resolution in United Nations General Assembly, which called for a ceasefire, which was tabled by the Arab Muslim countries. Georgia was one of them who tabled this. So France voted in favor of this particular, I would say, resolution tabled at the United Nations General Assembly. This resolution was outrightly criticizing Israel. And now this particular event also highlights that countries, they want to distance themselves from USA because USA is outrightly supporting Israel, which is, on a very extreme offensive in the Gaza Strip. Participating countries, the initiators. Now USA claims that there are more than 20 countries with it, but the countries which initiated this alliance: Britain, Bahrain, Canada, France, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Seychelles, and Spain. But now, from the initiators only, these two countries, Italy and Spain, they are, backing out kind of from this particular coalition or alliance. Now, PM Janman. This scheme was launched on November 29. The Union Cabinet approved this particular scheme, Pradhan Mantri Janjati Adivasi Nyay Maha Abhiyan, aimed at providing PVTG households, PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, the most vulnerable among the already vulnerable tribal community of India, are termed as PVTGs. They basically, what they will be doing, basic facilities will be provided such as safe housing, clean drinking water and sanitation, improved access to education, health and nutrition, road and telecom connectivity, sustainable livelihood opportunities. Actually, for all these purposes, there are schemes already existing like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission, then Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, or I would say right to education, health and nutrition ke liye we have Ayushman Bharat, or we have the National Food Security Act, or we have midday meal schemes. Then road and telecom connectivity, we have Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana, or we have Universal Service Obligation Fund for improving connectivity, or we have this Digital India, or we have this BharatNet program to increase penetration of broadband in the rural areas, sustainable livelihood opportunities in the form of MGNREGA and all, and skill development programs and schemes are there. Now, what is this Janman then? Janman basically is targeting to increase the saturation or coverage under these schemes. For the PVTGs, there will be a special, or I would say specific focus on PVTGs who will be, targeted, and these schemes will be delivered to them. This is the main agenda. In addition, saturation will also be ensured for schemes like Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, sickle cell disease elimination, TB elimination, 100% immunization, PM Poshan, PM Jandhan Yojana, etc. etc. All these are either related to health or financial inclusion or nutrition. So that all will be delivered. Now, who are PVTGs? Now, in 1960-61, there was a commission named as the Dhebar Commission, which, recommended or which identified disparities among scheduled tribes. They said that scheduled tribes are there. Around 700, 800 communities are labeled as scheduled tribes, but among them also there are, some communities which are very poor or very marginalized or very deprived. And those communities at that time, according to the Debar Commission recommendations in 1960-61, were termed as primitive tribal groups or PTGs. It was in 2006 that this category was renamed as particularly vulnerable tribal groups, PVTGs. So PVTGs as a name was coined in 2006, but Devar Commission recommendations actually identified primitive tribal groups. Primitive tribal groups were only renamed to be PVTGs. Now, how many tribal groups have been classified as PVTGs so far? 52 groups in 1975 were classified as PVTGs. Now the category has expanded to include 75 groups in 22,554 villages across 18 states and 1 union territory of India. 28 lakh individuals are identified as PVTG in the present day world. Criteria to identify PVTGs: those tribal communities who are following pre-agricultural lifestyles, means they are using hoe, stakes and all, slash and burn agricultural techniques. Those are called as pre-agricultural lifestyles. Low literacy levels are there. Small or stagnant populations. Subsistence economies, means their economy or their economic activity is only able to sustain their life. That is it. And that too, most of the times it is not able to do so. Population sizes vary significantly from under 1,000 in some groups, such as Great Andamanis, they are around 50 only. The Onge, they are left around 100. And there are some tribal communities who are having population over 1 lakh but are classified under PVTGs, such as Maria Gond of Maharashtra, Saura in Odisha. So this is the diversity among PVTGs also. Some tribes in central India like Birhor facing stagnation, their population is not increasing, while Onge and Andamanis are experiencing a decline. So we've seen, how less of them are left. So this is something which needs to be, taken care of. They die why? Because they do not have access to good health care. Simple diseases take their lives. They do not have access to good nutrition. They're living on subsistence, I would say, lifestyles. So this particular scheme is basically aiming to touch them or touch their lives so that their populations can increase, their lifestyles can become more healthy, their life expectancy rate can increase, they can live longer lives. They can also recreate and produce more and more among them. So it is basically all about conserving them. Challenges in their development. No, they face a lot of challenges like severely marginalized due to their isolation. They are isolated, and due to their isolation, they are marginalized. The government services do not reach them. Facilities do not reach them. Low population and distinct socio-economic and cultural traits they are having. Limited access to basic services like education, healthcare. Social discrimination is being faced by them a lot. Loss of traditional livelihood and exploitation by middlemen. Now the Forest Right Act was there to give or to ensure their livelihood, but there are certain gaps in Forest Rights Act which, is due to those gaps, identification of these tribal groups is difficult. And since identification is not there, the livelihood opportunities are lost. Vulnerability to displacement from development and natural disasters. Development happens, let's suppose a dam is being built and they are staying there, they are displaced. Or natural disasters which have increased a lot, if they come, then it hampers them. They have little political representation, hindering their participation in decision making also. So this is there. Apart from it, the mainstream society of India, they have often overlooked their traditional knowledge and practices, and we consider them, there's a stereotype among us that we consider them backward and they are going to be like that only. So this is on our aspect, on our side, that a shortcoming is there, And due to that, I would say our perception about PVTGs, there's a lot of challenges for them. So this is the now schemes for PVTGs. It's not like this is the first scheme for PVTG. There were schemes which have been launched for PVTG, like the PVTG development plan. It provides education, healthcare, livelihood opportunities while preserving traditional knowledge of them. Then Pradhan Mantri Jan Jatiya Vikas Mission focuses on market linkage and minor forest produce, since most of them live in the forest areas. So minor forest produce like timber can be there, or honey can be there, or just say people smoke bidi. So bidi is made up of a leaf named as tendu leaf, which is of a tendu tree. That is also considered as a minor forest product. Now these tribal people living in those forests where these products are getting, I would say, grown, they will be having access to those forest products, and they can allow, or they are allowed to sell them and earn money. The Pradhan Mantri Adi Adarsh Gram Yojana, integrated tribal development project and tribal sub plan, which collectively aim for holistic development of tribal areas. Apart from these, Eklavya model residential schools for the tribals, land titles under Forest Right Act, support to Tribal Research Institute scheme, Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, and the Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act, PESA Act 1996. Above all, reservation has been given in employment and education to these tribal groups. So this reservation for STs, definitely STs include the PVTGs. But how is PM Janman different? We need to understand that. In PM Janman, proper identification and recognition of these PVTGs is being done. Now, the criteria for recognizing or identifying PVTGs has been criticized for being outdated. Some PVTGs are not recognized as scheduled tribe in certain states, and the list containing repetitive names has led to confusion and exclusion. So this will be done first of all, and since we have Aadhaar in place, so proper identification will be done and should be done. Participatory bottom-up approach. Now this bottom-up approach was propagated by Jawaharlal Nehru also in his tribal Panchsheel formula. But now this is being implemented to help PVTGs effectively. The scheme abandons the one-size-fits-all approach in favor of customized strategies. And it actively involves PVTGs in decision-making, addressing land rights, social inclusion and cultural preservation. That is basically what the bottom-up approach is like. Then livelihood promotion, providing skills training and resources like land and credit will help sustainable livelihoods for them. Health, nutrition and education. This will help increase their, I would say, life expectancy. This will help increase their lifestyles or better their lifestyles and will make them ready for the future as well. Outreach strategies like mobile medical health units will be crucial for providing healthcare in remote areas. These strategies need to be tailored for specific health issues like teenage, pregnancies and oral health. Apart from it, for this we have this Eklavya model schools or these are residential schools for the tribal people. They will be more in number in the times to come. Then infrastructure development. The habitations of PVTGs often don't meet the criteria for schemes such as Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, since most of them are in jungles, isolated. They're not even classified as, I would say, grams or villages. So these schemes do not reach them, but now with a special emphasis and focus for the PVTGs, these schemes for infrastructure development like Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana or Awas Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission, they will be reaching them. This is what the government has taken a resolve for. So this is what, and this is how PM Janman is going to be different. And this is it from today's session. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.